All right, we're on. We're recording, and today is August 20th, and we're gonna continue our MUMPS class from last time. So what I'm going to do today basically has two main purposes. We're going to look at MUMPS as the language, what it looks like, and after we do that, I'm going to introduce you to the world of MUMPS editors and how to actually make a routine. Um, by the way, people, as I think Sue was really anxious about getting the homework already, and I told her, hold on, Sue, not today, maybe next week. All right, so let's begin. So. Um, Depending on the MUMPS implementation that you have, if there's different ways to get into programmer mode, and that's what we're going to do right now. In GTM, the way you do it is you type, actually the whole thing that you type is under GTM dollar GTM underscore this slash mumps dash dir. That gets us inside of MUMPS. Um, if you have cache, if you have cache, you type in something like this: C session cache, and you just enter. Now this is not the case here. We are on GTM. Here we go. Robert says, "Where should I be seeing this?" Is he on? I don't think he's on. Let me just check with Robert. Can you do?
See Robert on blue button.
I see him. Yes, I'm gonna see after you log into the forum. Okay, I'm hoping, Robert, I have the GTM. Oh, you have the GTM prompt already. Okay. Oh, okay. Type halt, Robert. Then type exit. Then type screen as X Sam. Kevin's instruction sent us directly to the GTM prompt. That's true. Okay, I see. Let me know, Robert, when you're done. You should be in your user account. Oh, says process completed and expects no input. Oh, okay. Oh, you logged out all the way. Start a new session. Log in with SSH, and once you are logged in, type in. Okay. Okay. Who's there? Okay. So, Robert, I'm moving on just a little bit. When I'll check on you later. Okay. So I'm pretty sure you won't lose much here. So, basically, what I'm showing you is essentially you just the first thing you really have to know how to do is to get into MUMPS. And this is the way that you type to get into MUMPS, and now you're in MUMPS. So that's, I guess, if wasn't planning on assigning a homework this class, but I do have a little homework, which we'll cover later, which is basically you need to be able to get into MUMPS. That's it. You need to be able to get into MUMPS. So let's now talk about, now that we got into MUMPS, what does the MUMPS language look like? Now, I'm going to scare you right now, and by the way, don't worry, it's always going to be scary for a long time inside of MUMPS. Yes, so getting into MUMPS means seeing the GTM prompt. All right. This code actually does not look too bad, the stuff that you just look at. This is a printout of the routine XUS, and basically you could from there you could actually get to see the structure of MUMPS. It's relatively clean compared with a lot of other stuff. So let's take a look at a single line of this routine. So let me do this line. So you don't have to worry about what I'm typing right now, because we're just gonna focus on the output. But you could guess what the output is actually. Okay. So I want you to notice when we're looking at this, the general structure of MUMPS. You don't have to understand what any of this means yet. This is for later. Today's class is just about understanding what does MUMPS look like and how do I go about understanding it. MUMPS looks like the following. It's a letter, then a space, then something, then some expression, then a space, then a letter, and then a space, and then expression, and then a space, then a letter, and then a space, and so on. That's the way it works. Or the way I wanna describe it is, it's the way you wanna describe this is, it's command space expression. Actually, we won't call it expression. It's really an argument space command space argument space. If I could spell. So given this structure, let's figure out what does the line above say. Who wants to guess on what the first command is? Not Linda. Anybody? You could type in the chat. Okay, very good. Yeah, I see that Tony actually went farther than requested, and he told you the entire command. But the first command is an S. Here you go. That's why don't scare Sue. Don't scare Sue. So the first command is an S. We're not going to explain them right now. So after the S comes the space. So what's the first argument? Any takers who want to type it into the chat? Nope, that's not the first argument. Okay. It's the first thing after the S. Yes, it is, Sue, but you don't want to. No, you're not. You're not. You got this. Get this right. After the S, it's the X equal. That's right. Thank you, Anthony. So it's X equal $extract X. Oh, sorry. I'm not supposed to confuse you. We're not gonna talk about what they mean yet. Uh, okay, Sue says she can't wait to see the X. Okay, Sue, let me show you. I'm gonna copy and paste this into the chat. This is what it says. Okay, you're looking at the wrong thing. Okay. So, command space argument space. So let's see what's the next command is. This one is trickier. Okay. Thank you, Sue. That's correct. The next command is set colon not dollar text test. Excuse me. But we're not gonna. Again, we're not. I'm not supposed to explain what this means, but I can't help it, I suppose. And this is your next command, and we're gonna say, doesn't matter. This whole thing is a command for now, and then the argument for that is, I won't belabor this. I see that you guys get it. This is this, and then same thing. Next command is a D, and next argument is LC, capital. Next command is and next argument is. Now, that basically mumps keeps going on like that. Now, one thing that you might find somewhat surprising is that there are a couple of commands that don't take arguments. The most famous of which is the else command. And in that case, what you type is command space space. So if you don't have an argument, you do put 2 spaces. Now, we're not going to get to that except in a while, so we're not going to worry about it right now. But the thing to get out of this is basically the fact that mumps is command space, argument space, command space, argument, and so on. So let's look at this again. So I hope now it sort of makes sense, even if you don't have a clue what these things mean. But basically, it gives you an idea of how to read this. The other important thing about reading mumps is let's do something again. Don't worry about what I'm typing. Basically, MUMPS has the concept of discrete functions or procedures, and we usually call them subroutines in MUMPS. And this is an example of one. And basically somebody could actually call this discrete piece of function and run this code. So again, not to worry too much about this. This will all gradually make sense. Right now, we're in the very hardest part of what the hell is this? So, I'm giving you a big printout of the entire routine, and again, you could see the ideas that I've expressed right there, and you could see that everything is basically command argument with spaces in between. So, now that we've covered a little bit of the structure of what a few things in MUMPS look like, we're going to start looking at a few of the simplest commands in MUMPS. So, in programming, this basically we have the concept of variables, and variables is what variable is something we store and then use for later. And it's if you've not programmed before, I hope I'll be able to help you understand that. But we're gonna move slowly here, and I'll show you how this works. So, um, our first statement we're gonna do is we're gonna do the word set x equal 3. Now, Sue, you asked what is set? Set is basically telling you that you are assigning a variable a value. The variable you're assigning is x over here, and it's equal to 3. Most programming languages, actually all programming languages have sets in them, except that uh, you know, a lot of languages just say x equal 3, but in MUMPS you have to type set and before you assign a value. So this is our first command, is to assign a value. We're gonna do our next command, which is to write it out. So we're gonna do write x. Writing x just will give you the contents of x, and x was 3. So moving on, this is basically set and write. Let's try the following. I'm going to show you another feature of the MUMPS language, and basically it's the use of the comma with a command. So set x equal 3, comma y equal 4 is the same as set x equal 3, set y equal 4. So comma means repeat the command. So this is basically you're gonna basically see this all over MUMPS, and you can let's actually keep going, but I want to show you a little example. Remember one of the lines that we've just looked at up top is it's dev pass plus 2 up caret xus. No, plus 1. I want you now. It's not far of a stretch, but you could guess that the W is an abbreviation for write, but that's not important right now. What's important is I want you to see that there's a comma. The comma basically means, okay, I'm gonna write a new line, then I'm gonna write something called device password. And yes, I'm sorry, I jumped ahead. The bang stands for a new line. So we started with set and write. Now, let's start introducing something that's, you know, basically what we usually use programming languages for. It's basically arithmetic. So, anything in arithmetic is basically done in MUMPS using arguments, and you could write 3 plus 4 gives you 7. Let's see. Mano asks, what is, oh, this is comment. Thank you. Thank you, Anthony. And so this is the simplest of things we could do, is basically write x3 plus 4. We can also, this is where we can use variables. We can do write x plus 4. Now, if you remember, if we write x is 3. If we write x plus 4, it's going to be 7. Now, if we remember that y is 4, then write x plus y equals 7. Now, so far, I haven't done anything fantastic, but essentially, every programming language works like this. You assign variables, and then you run them, and basically, if you can replace the variable, essentially is a replacement for an actual thing that you type. So x here stands for 3, and so the computer says 3 plus x plus 4 means, oh, I should substitute that x with 3. Now, big thing that, I don't want to complicate it for people. No, I won't mention it. It's going to complicate, so never mind. This is good enough. And as you look at more languages, they essentially all adopt the same strategies. That basically you have your variable names like x and y are pretty much they look like they are a bunch of letters, and then you could do math with them, and you could do everything with them. So I just showed you a plus sign. Let me show you something else. You know that we can do x minus y. And oh my God, MUMPS gives us negative numbers. Wow, who knew? Is that Manoja or Manohar? Manohar is asking, are all commands case sensitive? No, the commands are not case sensitive, but we have a long tradition in VISTA of writing in uppercase. So we're going to stick with uppercase for now. Show you an example. You could type write x minus y. We're going to stick to uppercase for now. So far, we have the write and the read command. I'm going to introduce a couple of more commands now. I'm going to introduce the if command. So we're going to start with if. The syntax of if command is simple. Type if this isn't, okay, Sue's asking, this isn't working as I try to do it in Paideia. Should it? Let's see. It should work. Make sure to set x and y first. Okay. So let's start. So we have the if command. So the if command basically works like this: if condition commands. So basically, the if has the special thing about if in MUMPS is that it does not have a then. Now, if you come from another programming language, you always expect that if sometimes comes with then, or somewhere that says then. No, in MUMPS, the then is special. The then in the if is the rest of the line. So let me type this. there is no then. So let's try this. So we're gonna do if let me do something. Let's say x greater than 1. All right, so I just introduced the greater than symbol. If x is greater than 1, right, x is greater than 1. Wow, look at that. It actually works. So let's set x to equal to -5, and let's rerun our program. What I want you to notice is we actually did not get any output. So let's try this. Let's try this again, and we're gonna say if x. Let's try it with. I'm trying to think. Oh yeah, here's what I want to do. I wanted to show you that we're gonna set x equal to 4, and I can say I can write multiple statements here, and they're all going to execute. Okay, so it executed this, but I want you to notice that even though there's a set in the line, it still got executed. So if now y is equal to 7, so write y. It's equal to 7. Okay, that's good. So the opposite of if, and we're not going to use it a lot. You just have to be, you're going to have to fumble a little bit when using it. But I'm going to introduce it now. Let's set x to equal -5, and if x is greater than 1, the rest is going to execute. Now, we saw, since there's a write statement and nothing came out, we know that basically nothing came out. So what we have to do now is we could type the else statement. I'm going to say else, and I mentioned that with else you need 2 spaces because it does not have an argument. And else is only one of 2 commands that does that. So that commonly used commands. There are others, but basically you don't have to worry about how many commands do I have to worry about this. It's pretty much only the else and one other. So, and plus your MUMPS always warns you. Oh, let's make MUMPS warn me. Look at that. So if else takes 2 spaces, and MUMPS will warn you if you actually don't have 2 spaces. So what you have to do now is we're going to put 2 spaces, and now you're going to notice that the else got executed. So let's try it again. We're going to set x equal to 5, and we're going to execute both lines. So here the write got executed for the if. Let's try the else. The else did not get executed. Okay, and rounding out the introductions of new commands that I wanted to cover in this class, the next command is one of the more difficult one in MUMPS, and I don't want you to worry about it, but I'm just going to mention it just because it's just useful to know because it actually belongs with if and else. Oh, okay. Manohar asked, please repeat else. Okay, I'll repeat else. Else runs only if the if fails. So if has to check a condition, which is if x is greater than 1, and else executes if that's not the case. And what I've shown up there in the screen capture is basically if here if x is greater than 1 and x in this case was 5, then we write x is greater than 1. Otherwise, we say that x is less than 1. And if we set x to another value, it's going to be if we set it to -5 like I did before, it's the else that's going to execute because the if fails. Now we're going to cover if and else in more detail in the future. I'm just giving you a taste of MUMPS right now and some of the important commands that you need to recognize. The next command is a hard command, but it's pretty much, if you do MUMPS, you're going to spend all your life writing this command. This command is the for command. The for command is the looping command, and if you ever want to get something done more than once, or go through files, go through data, you have to use the for command. So you use it a lot, but it's actually pretty difficult to use, and I'm going to show you a very simple example. So I'm gonna show you the for command and how it works. So this is the simplest example I think I could muster. I could say for I equals 1 step 1 to 10, write I new line, and I hit enter. Now should be pretty straightforward. So this is basically the format of the for command and how it runs. And let me just write it down here to explain what this is. So when we say I equals 1:1:10, this means start from 1, increment by 1, and go to 10. Stop at 10. Okay, that's essentially syntax of the for command. Now, the reason I introduced if, else, and for together is the following. But all of these commands have line scope. Okay, let me write this down. If, else, for, so if the command is to execute, it will run the whole line. This is important. So if you read a for command, you basically are going to run the whole line of the for. And if you do an if, you're also running the whole line. So that's important. And there are ways to stop, yes, but it basically makes the if, else, and for commands a bit different than the rest of the commands in the MUMPS language. So I'm going to show the routine again, part of it at least. If we could find what I did say here. Here we go. So, okay, we actually have an example here of the if command, and let's take a look at it because it basically gives you the idea. Okay, Sue is asking if these run the whole line, what do other commands do? Okay, good point. Basically, the if, else, and for act pretty much as gatekeepers for the rest of the line. So let me write this down. If act as gatekeepers. So the example up above is the following. I'm going to just paste it here and I want you to take a look at it. This is the example. And we don't have to worry about what the example does, but essentially, if the if is not true, the rest of the line is not going to get executed. If the if is true, the rest of the line is going to get executed. So essentially, when Sue asks, what do the other commands do? The other commands are pretty much execute on a command argument basis. And so does the if and the else and the for, except that the if, else, and for act as gatekeepers for the rest of the line. If they if any of these exit one of these, if you exit one of these or it turn out to be not true, then the rest of the line is not executed. And thus it's an exception to the rule of of basically command argument, because the rest of the arguments don't get executed. Or the rest of the commands don't get executed, that I mean to say. Okay, I'm going to pause for a little bit here for a tiny break, and I want you guys to, I'm going to open it for questions. See if you have any questions on what we've covered so far. You guys could come off mute and you can go ahead and ask your questions aloud if you want to. Okay, Sue says, I tried to run the command. Okay. Oh, Sue, what you're doing wrong is that what you're doing wrong, Sue, is that you're putting a space between the I and the exclamation mark and the comma. You need to remove that space. Okay. Tom is asking, can a variable be more than a single value? The answer is yes. But essentially, MUMPS lets you do an array for pretty much everything you could think of. So you can a variable can be certainly more than a single value. But we're not going to cover that until a few classes later. So yeah, the answer is yes. Any other questions? Okay, so here's what I'm going to do, and I'm experimenting. I don't know if this is gonna work. I want to take a little 3 minutes break so I can get some water and figure out what I'm talking about next. Okay, and then we're gonna resume, and I hope to go for 20 to 30 minutes after that. Okay. Well, Linda could pause the recording, or you could keep it going if you want. Okay, never mind. We're going to keep it going. Okay, guys, I am back, and I am just gonna give you guys just 30 more seconds to get ready before us resuming. So, spaces. Okay, so what I want to cover now is basically what we call strings versus numbers, and what's the difference between them, and how does MUMPS treat them. So let's start. Let's start with doing that. So um, when I set up there, when I set x and y, I set them to numbers. So what I'm going to do now, excuse me, is I'm going to set x and y to strings. Now, what are strings? Now, strings is sort of a computer science term when we say that the thing we're storing in a variable is a bunch of letters. Um, and or numbers, but not just a number. So numbers are just numbers, but strings are actually stuff that's alphabetic. So, for example, set x equal to the cat. That is a string. I could do write x. Now, normally strings are actually all as far as mumps is concerned, they are just not numbers, and this will come up in several places. So, for example, and I don't want you to get caught up in this too much right now. Right now, if we say write x greater than 5, you get a 0. I actually never give you the actual output of x greater than 5. Well, here you go. I need to explain this. Mumps, let's do this. Write x less than 5. 1. So, in mumps, the number 0 and the number 1 stand for a boolean yes and a boolean no. So, and if you write them out, that's what you get. So let me write this down. So Boolean expression in mumps. 1 is true, 0 is false. Okay, so whenever I write an expression and you see a 0 or a 1 when we expect a Boolean output, that's what you're gonna either get true or false. Again, I don't want to. I'm already touching a lot of areas that's going to confuse the hell out of you, like the data type conversions in mumps, and how does something get to be Boolean and versus when doesn't it get to be Boolean. Not now, not yet. We're gonna come to that. What I wanted to show you though is strings basically are different from numbers. and you set them by putting them in double quotes, like I showed you here. So this part is also important. MUMPS only knows about double quotes for strings. That's really important because we're going to get a lot of people who do JavaScript and who want to say, I want to use a single quote for my values. No, sorry, MUMPS only does double quotes. This could be advantageous in that you could use single quotes for other stuff. But that's basically MUMPS will not recognize it. So that's that's an important thing to know. So to set a string, basically, to set a string, put it between double quotes. Okay. Now you might ask, I don't want to use double quotes. What would MUMPS would say? Okay, let's see. We're gonna give it a try. So set x equal to the cat. Oh, okay. It did not work. Let's try this. Let's just set it to a single letter, a single word. Oh, well. Oh, look at this. What just happened? So, okay. Any anybody new to programming, this is the hard part you're going to have to understand. If you've been programming in other languages, this is old hat for you. But this is the hard part for people who are programming for the first time to understand. Basically, if you supply something to a computer programming language that looks like a variable, which is a bunch of letters, the computer language is going to think it's a variable unless you surround it with quotes. Right? This is important. So, without quotes, you are MUMPS will think you are giving it a variable. Okay, that's really important. So, um, here we go. That's how we're supposed to do it. Now here is the next thing, the next fancy thing you could do with strings, and you're gonna do this a lot in your homeworks and everywhere else. What you can do is you can. Okay, Sue has a question. All strings must have quotes, or yes, that's correct, Sue. All strings must have quotes. Otherwise, MUMPS will think what you're typing is a variable. So the cool thing that we did with strings, we saw just a moment before that we could do a cool thing with numbers, which is add them up. 3 plus 5 is 8. 3 divided by 5 is some fraction. And with strings we could do the following. We can do write the underscore space underscore cat. So we're introducing now the underscore. What the underscore does is that it joins strings together. Okay, good, very good. Now, what if we actually have a variable containing the word the, and we have another variable containing cat? So we're going to set x equal to the, comma, which means repeat the command I just said, y equal cat. All right, I can write x underscore y to join them together, and you get all one word, but we want a space in between them. So we could put quote. So what I have in the middle here is a space in between quotes. So I hit enter, and I get the space cat. Now, you were thinking, okay, this is good, I like it, I like it. Okay, here's a surprising part about mumps. And this will give you a little bit of an insight of what mumps really is. You're gonna think, oh my god, that is weird. I just joined two numbers as if they were strings. And so what's basically what just a second, Thomas, I'll be right back to your question. What I'm trying to show you here is that MUMPS treats numbers like it treats strings. It does not have different data types like other languages. So basically, it makes it a very loosely typed language where basically your data type could be anything, and it's up to the language to interpret what you gave it when at the time you supply the command. So let's go to Thomas's question. What will happen if you remove the underscore in the cat? I am not quite sure what he's saying, but I'm gonna presume he means that I should remove the underscore here. Here. So it becomes a syntax error because it's not a valid expression. Does this answer your question? Okay, he must be typing a lot. Oh, so a space in front of a Y is the same as an underscore. A space in front of the Y is the same as an underscore. No, actually, no. If we put a space, it's basically. Now, remember the very first thing I said in this class. It's basically mumps is command argument, command argument. So what mumps now thinks is that the Y is a new command since we put a space. Does this answer your question? Okay, good. All right. Can you please explain about data types I just explained? No, I'm not actually. We're going to reinforce this point over and over and over again. You don't have to worry about it. But what I want to tell you simply is that MUMPS is not Java. That's, in the end, what I want to reinforce. MUMPS is not Java. You don't just have data types everywhere for every single thing. You could actually treat things as multiple data types at the same time because there is no set data type. We're going to talk about it some more later, but we don't want to worry about it right now. Okay, so what I think I've covered enough for language semantics. Now I want to explain a moment on basically taking you down to what's known as routines. So in real code, you do not type stuff on the command line. You basically put your MUMPS code in routines and users execute that routines, or even you execute that routine. So we are going to talk about how to basically create routines and run routines. And that's the other part I want you to do, is basically over from here until next week, is to be able to create routines. But before I move on, actually, I should open it to questions and ask if anybody has any questions so far. You want to, before we move on to the next topic? Okay, no questions, so I'm moving on. So, um, I'm going to assign you. Let me think about this. Like the C programming language, you all cannot. No, I'm jumping ahead. Jumping ahead. Never mind. Never mind. We're gonna talk about routines first. Okay. So let's. An example of a routine is the one I just showed you up top, right? It's called XUS, and it's responsible for running VISTA. If I do, oh, I actually don't want to run XUS because it's going to kick me out. So I'm going to do another one, all right? So there's another program that lets you log into VISTA, is XCP, okay? So in order to execute a routine, I have to use this command. The command is do, and I have to type up caret XCP. And I hit enter, and I just executed the command. I execute the routine. So you're going to see this a lot in VISTA documentation, is that it tells you run this routine. When somebody tells you run this routine, that's what you do. You type do up caret something. Now, I know people always get confused. They always tell me, but up caret is also used for other stuff inside of MUMPS, and namely, it's used for the globals. So how do I know which is which? The answer to that is, we're not going to talk about it today, but it depends on the context. Depending on whether you're executed with a do or you're executed with another command, means that you're running a routine versus accessing a global. We're not going to worry about that right now. Oh, thank you, Linda. You took care of that question. Okay, so let's talk about creating a routine. So in GTM and in Cache, there's something called VPE. We're going to talk about creating a routine now. So let me write this. Creating a routine. So in Cache and in GTM, we have something called VPE. You might need to install it if it's not already installed. And I'll see if I could send you an email link on for people who have their own environments want to get it installed. But in order to enter it, we write this cryptic command, and oh, it wants my DUZ. Okay, never mind. Okay, I'm just gonna pretend I'm user 1 at this moment, and let's just go with it. Okay, so this is what you get when you run VPE. And what I am going to do is I am going to create a new routine right now. And this is one way you can create a routine. There are other ways to create routines, but for now, this is basically the one that's in common with most of you. If some people have Cache, I would actually, their Cache has a Cache editor and so on. Menoj, good question. Or Menohar, sorry. Both of your names, and we have a dot 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 after the name. I don't know which one. Menohar, a DUZ is a user number in Vista. I'm sorry I had to slop it in like that. But all you have to do now is just remember what I typed. That's all. So you could just type it that way. So um, to edit a routine here, we type dot dot e, and I'm going to call my routine. Every person has to have a different name, so I'm going to call myself Z0, and we're going to call it RTN1. Okay? So what I don't like about VPE is that it's a bit difficult to use, but after enough fiddling, you finally get used to it. So usually you type the name of the routine on the first line, and then you type a semicolon, and then you type who you are. Eh? The tab. Oh yeah, that's right. Thank you, Linda. I'm not that used to VPE. Oh my God, I'm getting caught out because I don't use VPE day to day. So, all right. So, I had to press tab. Then I should say, I work for this organization, and these are my initials, and this is a test routine. All right, and then if we have not, oh, I did not discuss routine structure yet. Well, we're gonna do that next, I suppose, because now the people are gonna be confused and why do they have to press tab? Okay, we're gonna talk about that. But then I'm going to write here, hello world, and then a new line. And then to exit, I type escape. And I hit save. Now, what I have to do, I'm on a command prompt now, or if I want to get out of VPE, I could type H for halt, but I could just stay here. I'm just going to print it out for you guys. So Z0RTN1. Okay. So that's my entire routine. That's it. There's nothing else to it. So how do I run this? I type do up caret C0RTN1. And guess what? I ran my first routine. Fantastic. And guess what? So your guys' homework for next week, besides logging into MUMPS, is you also have to create the very simplest routine you can ever create and run it. Okay. Susan says also, so I have no idea how to get into VPE. Sue, I'm gonna go over it again, all right? So, let's start from the top. What you have to do is you just, for now, we're gonna set DUZ, you're gonna type set DUZ equal to a number. It has to be an existing user. User one usually always exists, so that's a safe value to choose. And then you type x up caret %ZVEMS. All right, I'm going to paste this in the chat. And if you use Paideia, I believe you do not need the DUZ equal 1, right? You don't, because there is no VISTA installed on there. Here you go. That's what you need to run. So, I just mentioned a moment ago on what's basically what's the strange thing on why do I have to press tab. So let's look at this, okay? Huh. Linda, do you have a solution for that? Okay, Linda has a solution for that. She's going to give that to you, and I suppose that's what we're going to use for that. So, what the thing I need to explain about routine structure is the following. Let's look at the bigger routine, all right? So I'm going to give you a routine that lets you enter file manager. Okay. You will notice what I want to draw your notice to in this routine is the following. What you want to do, what you see is that the first character of every line is either a character or a space. Now, the thing is in MUMPS is that it's weird among programming languages in that it actually requires you to put a space before the commands that you write. If you don't put a space, that part of the routine is known as a label. So let's actually, I'm going to prove it to you. I don't know how to delete this, but I'll do it this way. Oh. Okay. Hold on, Manoj. I'm going over it right now. Okay. I'm going to say write. Huh? No tab. I'm doing it intentionally. Linda's trying to correct me. I'm showing you what happens when Linda doesn't correct me. Okay, look at this. Invalid line tag. Wow. Okay, VPE does not even let us save it, okay? So, VPE requires that you press a tab because it does not have a space. So, let's do the following. I suppose I have to delete this. Here we go. I press tab, it becomes a label. And now I could now this is just a tab. Can I say hello world? Let's see. Oh, look at that. The computer complained. It said, oh, you can't write that. Sorry, sorry, sorry. So you're looking at this and you're like, oh, my God, this routine looks okay. Let's print it out. Okay, you know, to untrained eyes, that routine looks absolutely fine. There's absolutely nothing wrong with it. It should work. But this is the big trick that will that jumps at people running MUMPS for the first time, is that you cannot do. You have to put a little, yes, Alice, thank you. You have to put some space at the beginning of a line that contains commands. We usually put one space or one tab. It does not matter. Either a tab or a space would be okay. Manoj, did I answer your question? Okay, good. All right. So this is really important. This is one of the most important things that, you know, it's going to trip up a beginner. So I'm going to delete this. Oh, yes, I forgot that this thing. Oh, by the way, guys, to delete a line in VPE, it's escape D, and that deletes a line. And then I'm going to press tab, and I'm going to write hello world, save it, and 0RTN1. Oh, let's print it first. Okay, this is good. And now we could do Z0 RTN1, and it works again. Okay. Briefly, this is actually no, not before I move on. I want to show you a bigger routine, what it looks like. Okay, so I want you to notice in that bigger routine the pattern I told you about. That a label. Let's just print the last part. Manohar is asking if the upcar is required for a routine name. Yes, it is required for a routine name. Okay. So, Manohar. Okay. Sue is asking what's a label. That's something I started using, but I missed the explanation. Okay, good question, Sue. A label is anything that starts at the first column. So, for example, ERR up here is a label. DTime is a label. Okay, so anything that starts at without a space is a label. Does that make sense, Sue? Okay, what is the significance of a label? A label is very important in MUMPS. We are not going to talk about it today. But it's very important. We're not going to talk about it today. Just know that they exist. They exist probably for a very good reason. Okay, Sue, you're making a convincing argument. Should I say what's it for? Okay, fine. A label can be called, you could tell your MUMPS program to begin execution at a certain label. And that's why it's important. Basically, you could call it directly. So, label ERR means you can run it. You can actually do ERR up caret XUP. And for, okay. Oh, good. Thank you, Linda. It also helps organize your program. Now, no, not comments. Linda was going to take care of that, right? Okay. So, what I did want to cover quickly before we move on is the alternate editors that are available to you. Okay, this is important. So if you find VPE too difficult to use, you can use a different editor. And I'll show you some of the editors we have available on Linux and the ones we have available on Windows. So we typically, in MUMPS, a lot of the time we develop on the command line because we don't have a very good IDE that actually lets you actually edit and write code at the same time. We do have, so one of the editors I use, and I'm just going to get out of MUMPS in a moment because this is an export. I'm just going to put an editor. Oh, no Pico. Okay. Okay, good. Here we go. So there's an editor. What was my routine name? I forgot. Z0. Hold on. Z RT. All right, very good. See, I totally forgot already. I can in GTM there's a program called zedit, and zedit will invoke the editor which you specify using the editor variable. And this basically gives you an editor, and it usually comes with instructions at the bottom. This one does not. I'm not sure why. But to get out is Control X, and it just exits. On Windows, we have two alternatives. Running Cache, you can use the Cache Studio. Cache Studio, again, has the same problem that it lets you edit the routine. You still have to go to the command line to run it. And that's a tiny problem, but people usually run with an editor and a command line to go with that. The other thing that's available is there's an Eclipse-based editor for Vista, and at this point, you know, I don't have where it works on Windows and Linux, but there are a few bugs in it. But by and large, it works okay. If you work for the VA, you might, and you have Vista Link up and running, you might want to consider that. For us, here's what I suggest we do. Where you guys could figure we're gonna try to use VPE most of the time, just because that's the easiest thing to get set up. It does not require any setup at all. Or if you wish, you could actually use the system editor supplied by GTM. But I would still recommend VPE for now. And if I feel inclined to it, I'm always thinking of making a web-based editor. But you know, I'm not in the mood right now to write one. So we're almost closing time for the class. So let's wrap up for today. So basically, the things that we have gone over today were just a few rudimentary MUMPS commands. We've gone over how to get into MUMPS, and we've gone over how to create a routine and how to invoke a routine. What I want you to do, guys, is the following. So I want you to do a couple of things until next week. These couple of things are, you have to get into MUMPS, you have to manage to get into MUMPS yourself. That's not that hard, that's pretty easy. The other thing, which is far harder, is you have to run a simple routine that you created. Now, I'm gonna give you, each one of you, basically what we call a namespace to create your routines in. If you've noticed, I took the namespace Z0. So I'm going to start from the top, and I'm gonna assign you namespaces. All right, ready? I'm gonna do it. Alice, you start first because you're the first one. Alice is Z01. Anthony, you're Z02. Linda, Z03. Manohar, Z04. Manoj, Z05. Rob, Z06. Huh? Oh, that's Felder. Sorry. Rob Felder. That's right. We need to assign something for Rob Durkin when he comes. Sue, you're Z07. And Tom, you are Z08. Okay. question is how are you gonna use this? Okay, so let's pretend I'm Linda. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into VPE. Ah, sorry guys, VPE decided to crap out. Just a moment. Ah, here we go. We reset this, and okay. So what I'm okay. Sue's asking in vForum or Paideia. You can do it either or. What are we doing, Linda? Is that generally students go to Paideia? Yeah. Okay. So let's do it in Paideia, Sue. Okay, and by the way, if you don't want to use our MUMPS environment, you are free to use your own, but you have to send me the routine via email. Okay? And you can email me later, and we'll tell you how to export routines if you need to. So let's pretend I'm Linda. So I'm going to do. Okay, this didn't take care of it enough. So. Okay. Still? Okay, well, backspace is broken for me now. We'll figure out why. Oh. Okay, well, I think this might take the care of the trick. Here we go. Much better now. Oh. Yeah, something happened in our environment. Okay, well, let's pretend that I'm using VPE. Let's just say I'm pretending that I'm using VPE. When I'm creating a new routine and I'm Linda, I'm gonna say Z03, and you could give it whatever name you want. So you could call it routine 1 or something like that. And you can start typing, um, Z03 RTN1 VN, and I don't know Linda's initials. No, I do know Linda's initials. Bad habits are hard to break. Okay, so this one would be Z03 RTN1. Here you go. So if I'm Linda, that's what I'm going to do. So each of one has your own namespace, and I want you to be able to create a routine in that namespace. This actually is I'm going to be honest with you, this homework is going to be really hard because what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to learn a new tool. You're going to have to figure out which tool you're comfortable with. And I would tell you, yeah, to exit. Yes, yes, Alice. These are all. Oh, to exit out of that text area. Let's let's pretend in VPE you just type escape to save it. All right. So we're gonna pretend that you're using that for now. Okay, what I was saying is that if you've never programmed before in MUMPS, that's going to be one of the most difficult things you're going to do, is basically try to get in and actually use a routine editor. So I hope you do well, and I don't, severely punish bad students. What I want you to do is try to see if you could actually get it, and don't worry if you don't get to do it by next week. So, what my plans for next week is that we're gonna meet, and I will let you know if there's anything that comes up, and I won't be able to make it. But the plan next week is that we're gonna meet. The week after that, I'll be on a plane when the class takes place, so I won't be able to make class. Okay. Our time is up. Does anybody have any more questions? Okay. I don't see any questions. So what I'm going to say for now is we're working on getting the recordings up so that you'll be able to see them. We're still working on that, and you'll we're recording today's class as we're speaking, and we'll hopefully get that out. And your tiny homework is to be able to get into MUMPS and to create a very simple routine. All right, that's it.